Huge spoiler alert. Here to review King Richard, Will Smith, playing Venus and Serena's dad, Richard Williams. And I gotta say, this is one movie I really enjoyed, and I could tell from the beginning just how it started. And I didn't know that Venus and Serena's mother played such a heavy role in their career. Let me step a little closer for this review. I didn't know their mother played such a heavy role in their career. But she was out there on the courts teaching them how to play as well. And at first, I thought maybe she was going to be like the wife in The Pursuit of Happiness when he was kind of down on himself and they needed money. And she told him, why don't you go apply for an astronaut, see if they're hiring. I was like, wow, now that's some support, isn't it? She really had his back. Nah, but this movie just shows the determination that Richard Williams had. He had a 78-page plan of their career written out before they were even born. Now that's focus and dedication. Who do you know that does that? He already had it mapped out before they were even born. Taking them to the dangerous parks in Compton, gang members rolling up. There was a scene, like I said, spoiler alerts, because there's going to be plenty of them. Some gang members were just, I didn't know he had that many daughters either, you know. But anyway, he takes his daughters out there and the gang members are, you know, yelling crass things at him. And they punched him, you know. He came back later and the gang members started up again. They said something inappropriate times 10. And Richard Williams turns around, lets them have it. Man, that wasn't very loud. There we go. You're like, man, what kind of punch was that? Anyway, Richard Williams lets him have it, knocks him down, and the other guys come in. And then, you know, once they get mopped, they pull out the gun, but nothing happened. And he was working as a security guard. And one of the scenes actually, you know, it really took you back to California, you know. Whether you're from Compton or not, I grew up in Southeast San Diego. All these areas resemble the same thing. When he was walking through the swap meet, looked just like the old school swap meet in Southeast San Diego, Fan Mart. All these indoor swap meets look alike in California pretty much. So he had a gun, so he was looking for a little get back. Remember the James Brown song? The big payback. Anyway, he had his gun out. Richard Williams, he's getting ready to cross the street, and he sees the gang members coming out of a store. And right before he does what he was about to do, drive-by pal takes out that dude. So that saved his life and his daughter's lives, because had he killed that guy, he would have probably spent the rest of his life in jail, and then we would have never heard of Venus and Serena Williams. So that really helped. That, I hate to say that, but the drive-by helped save their careers. And the dude that was out there being a gang member, you know, people that live reckless like that don't usually end up in a good way. But anyway, you know, he kept getting beat up, and the daughters talked about how he's getting beat up. His wife would, you know, try to console him, but that just shows how focused he was. He was willing to take beatings, whatever it took, to make sure his daughters could practice out there. And the only park that was, you know, close to him and available. And he told them they were all sleeping in one bedroom. It was like, what, 5 of them? And he told them, you know, someday you guys are going to all be millionaires. You're going to get a check for $1 million. He was letting them know it's not going to be like this forever. And it's hard to, you know, imagine that kind of thing when that's all you know is sleeping in one bedroom. So they had tremendous focus too. And it's just incredible when you think about all the things that Richard Williams was up against. And to be able to hold down a job, be married. He had a big blow up with his wife later on. They meet several people he takes them to these professional tennis coaches, and one of them didn't want to look at him. John McEnroe was out there. The guy that got to play John McEnroe really looked like him, had the hair, the headband, and everything, or bandana. The guy didn't want to look at him, and John McEnroe was leaving, and Richard Williams was like, come on, man, just look at him. McEnroe's leaving anyway. And Pete Sampras was out there. He's like, you don't mind, do you? He's like, no. So he's like, just look at him. And once he looked at him, got on the court with them, he saw they were the real deal. So then he was interested. But Will didn't have the money. I said Will. King Richard didn't have the money to pay them. So, working a security job, he didn't have the money to pay the coach. So he was trying to get a deal going. The guy said he couldn't do it for free, but he was willing to train one of them. So they made a deal. And he started coaching them, and I keep saying Will. Richard Williams was out there. He'd be filming them on the court, and he got into it with the coach. The coach wanted them to keep their legs close, and Richard Williams like, no, they got to keep their legs apart. And the coach was like, no, you have to keep your legs together so you can really swing with the racket. But Richard Williams is thinking, that's not the way I coached him, but he kind of let the coach do his thing. Later, they tried to get all these other guys on board. And the thing that I like about Richard Williams is he didn't bow down to all these big companies that came in and wanted to pay him $1 million. They put him on the spot, came to his house, offered her $1 million. Serena Venus. This story is more about Venus because, she's the older daughter. And so it was showing more about how, things started in the origin. So it didn't really touch too much on Serena's career, but we know what happened. But this guy from one of the big shoe companies comes in and he says, for $1 million or whatever. And he's like, the offer's only for today though, trying to force their hand. I'm like, yeah, right. So they were smart enough not to take it. He let his daughter decide. And when he said only for today, Miss Williams, the mom, looked at him like, what does that mean? And then Richard Williams says, just wait, hold your expression till they leave, then we'll talk about it. And they turned it down. And the guy, they brought in a new coach to work with them. He's like, what are you guys doing? You don't turn down these kind of offers. They wanted to put him in the juniors, and King Richard didn't want to do that. He did things his way. He didn't sell out or nothing. He's like, no, we'll hold out. By the end of the movie, they're getting offers from everybody for a lot more money. So he knew what he was doing. Like he said, he had a 78-page plan written out of their careers before they were even born. So he wasn't going to let anybody detour him from his goal. And that's what you have to have. You got to have tunnel vision. You're going to have people coming at you from every angle telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And if he had the time to write out a 78-page plan, he knew exactly what he was doing because he had to think it up before he wrote it down. So he knew what he was doing. When they started playing Cruel Summer, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I remember that was in the Karate Kid, made you feel like he was back in the 80s again. I was hoping they'd play a little bit more when they got to the hook, but it was just nice to hear the 80s music. I like 80s and 90s music. But anyway, one of the scenes that was funny when when Richard Williams was meeting with these big guys, these corporation guys that wanted to invest in Venus. They got some guys later on got them a big house in Florida where they could train and all that. But they were meeting all together, and the guys were trying to negotiate, and somebody was talking for him, and Richard Williams was like, he can talk for himself. And then he lets go of a burp, let's say, but not from his mouth. In the middle of the meeting, he lets one fly, showing them pretty much what he thought of their negotiations. But he just did his own thing, and I think that's why it's called King Richard, because he didn't bow down to nobody. He did it his way. And I'm going to watch this movie over and over again. I got so much respect for Venus and Serena Williams. And I like the part where you can see the actual interview on YouTube where she was being questioned by this guy asking her about her confidence. And he asked her over and over again. And, Richard Williams steps in and says, she's a child. Why do you keep trying to ask her the same questions? You already asked her. What are you trying to bring her confidence down? if you hear she's confident, don't keep asking her the same questions over and over. So he defended his daughter. You know, he knew that he had already, you know, set their minds to be champions. He didn't want some outsider coming in trying to, you know, take away what he had already instilled in them. So you got to love that. And I hear there are these feminists talking about they're offended that the movie's called King Richard. I'm like, really? You're offended that it's called King Richard? So now a black man raising his family and daughters is offensive. Well, so be it. You'll just have to be offended. The movie's called King Richard, and trust me, they're not going to change the name to appease anybody. Anyway, on a lighter note, the movie is so inspirational to show what you have to go through to reach success and how you have to stay focused. There was a point where after they were playing these other little girls and they won, they were getting their trophies, they were back in the van. He had this van that he would take around. And they were back there bragging, and he said, hey, stop all that bragging. Like, I don't want you guys to talk about tennis. He didn't want them to get burned out. He wanted them to still be children. That's one thing I like, too. He didn't put their careers first. He made sure they stayed children. He didn't, you know, just work. He wanted them to have balance so they didn't get burned out. I know people to this day that started playing football so young, by the time they got to high school or college, they're kind of already burnt out because they played so many years. So it was good he didn't burn them out, let them stay children, you know, enjoy their lives. But he told them to stop all that bragging, and they didn't do it. So he pulled over at this little convenience store and told them to get him some products, and he pulled off. His wife was like, what you doing? Like, you can't leave them in this neighborhood to walk alone. And he's like, well, you know, I told him or whatever. So, but she got so mad, he just kind of went up the street a little bit and parked, and they ran up there and got back in. And he told him, like, if it wouldn't been for your mom, like, I was about to leave you, make you walk home. But he had a point for everything he did. His wife told him at one point, if it wasn't for her religious beliefs, she would have left him a long time ago. I guess just because he was so tied up with other things. But she said something about his confidence. She said, you don't think you're very intelligent, but I never thought that of you. So she was letting him know, I still have your back. It's not that I'm not, you know, looking down on you. It's just, I guess she wasn't getting what she wanted because he was so, you know, focused on his girls, trying to get them to where they needed to be. I'm not sure the actress's name that played Mrs. Williams, but she did a great job. Everybody did a great job. I thought the girls that they picked to play Venus and Serena looked, especially Serena, she looked really a lot like her. I mean, they looked like they could have been sisters. And there's a part where she sneaks and gets in there because she wasn't getting, Serena snuck into play with one of the, they had like a camp going for tennis players. She snuck in there and did that. And this guy rolls up on King Richard's like, oh, I didn't know you had two of them. And Richard Williams was like, what you mean? So then he figured out, oh, Serena's over there playing. So he told her later on near the end of the movie that Venus was going to be champion or something, but he said, you're going to be the best to ever do it, you know, and that's the way he planned it because she's watching her sister and she's learning. Usually I notice the second person to do something is usually better than the original, and I got examples of that. I might be a little biased because I'm from California, the West Coast, but New York created rap, but who made it big? The West Coast. Second, you know. So Serena comes in and you see her career. These young ladies are now in their 40s, and I think Serena's the best tennis player to ever do it. And Venus, you know, one of the best to ever do it. And King Richard, go watch it. You will not be disappointed, you know. Will put on weight for the role. He had the high shorts on. In fact, his neighbor told him to take off the tight shorts at one point because she was just over there stirring it up. I think she called the police on him at one point, and Mrs. Williams had to go over there and check her about that. But you will not be disappointed if you watch this movie. In fact, Richard Williams would talk to his daughters, and he put in their heads, he'd call them their first and last name, not just Venus and Serena. He called her Venus Williams and Serena Williams. He's putting into their head what they're going to be hearing in the media. He knew exactly what he was doing, Kind of reminded me of Customato and Mike Tyson, but a better version, because Richard Williams, just all the stuff he had to go through, being in Compton in the 80s, that was nothing nice. Man, that was gang central. And later on, the gang members came back when he actually was out there with one of Serena and Venus's coaches, or Venus's coach. They were playing in Compton. The gang members rolled up like, hey, what's this dude doing up here? And he's letting them know, oh, yeah, he's with us. They're like, oh, that's bull. Blood neighborhoods to the cool, they say bull. They're like, oh, that's bull. So the gang members were now protecting them while they play on the court. Before, they were harassing them and, giving them trouble. But they started noticing the focus, I guess, that all of them had. So they were out there protecting them like, nah, we want to see where they end up. They got potential, Gang members, when they see somebody with potential, they'll often tell them, like Richard Sherman, hey, you stay in school. You do what you got to do because you don't want to live this life. They let you know they're in it, but they're letting you know you don't want no part of this. Like, it's leading to nowhere. Only reason they're in it, they kind of feel trapped, A lot of them anyway. That's how it was in the 80s and 90s. So you will not be disappointed. King Richard, it's on HBO Max. I had paid the $9.99, and then they were like, no, you have to pay the other subscription. So I ended up paying the $14.99. But King Richard, you won't be disappointed. Will Smith does it again. He's on a roll. He makes some great movies. It's just one of those movies you won't get tired of. I'll probably go watch it after this. Anyway, out of 5 thumbs up, I give it a 10. That's how much I liked it. Anyway, this is J. Roos Theory. Make sure you subscribe, comment, and be fearless. Yay, yay.